Hello, this is Mr. Eggert. I am wanting to talk with you today about the literary analysis paper. If you go in your module for this assignment, and I probably should have just arrowed over, but I didn't do that. Before we get too far into the video, I want to let you know that I'm outside, and that's why you hear the birds. Also, you might hear the air conditioning turn on. This is my view as of right now, and so hopefully you can share that with, I can share that with you. For the drama, I went ahead and took out The Taming of the Shrew with Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton. Also, my health, I'm doing better. I'm kind of scattered here, so I'll come back to The Taming of the Shrew. I had diagnosed with pneumonia on Monday night, and I've been kind of convalescing ever since. So anyways, I'm feeling better. My temperature has drastically dropped, so that's a good thing. Now, Taming of the Shrew, great story. I wish we could do it. But what I want you to do is, we're still going to do the drama handout, and I want you to complete that and study it like your life depended on it, because some of you need to do better than you did on the last one, and the last one I thought was fairly easy. It was just 20 questions, and so I guess some of you went on there thinking you had all the answers and didn't have to work at it, but I'm telling you this now, you got to memorize this. I mean, you got to know it. So make sure that you do that. So now we're down at the literary response thing. What I want you to do is, in your literary response paper, you will have to read these stories, and you will need to respond to them in a way that is meaningful. You'll have to find a thematic point. Maybe you want to talk about like in To Build a Fire, why we should listen to nature. In the yellow wallpaper, maybe you could talk about what kind of mental illness this lady has. In Person versus Person, The Cask of Amontillado, this is about a man who wants to steal the wealth of another man, and this man has a bunch of wine down in this catacomb underneath the house, and so maybe you could talk about the depths of human nature. Have Person versus Fate, Samson and Delilah. Person versus Society, The Lottery. Maybe you could talk about how people change their behavior when they're under peer pressure. So this is all basically about you finding something in there that tells you about or reveals something about the nature of these short stories. Now, what I've done is I've included the audio version, so all you have to do is listen to it, and then I've also included the PDF. Now, I don't want you doing research at a library or online to get answers. What I want you to do is read these stories and think about the story and what you might be able to write about. Now, you need to write probably a 6 to 8 paragraph paper. It needs to be between 750 and 1150 words. You need to have a quote from the story. You need to have at least 5 quotes from the story. 5 quotes, okay? And so that's going to be very important. I don't want to have to repeat a lot of this because I put it on video. If you have any questions, you email me, you text me, you call me, send me a video asking the question. Please make sure that you, do that if you have anything that you're uncertain about. So now what I want to do is I want to talk about, how do you do a literary analysis, okay? Well, good question. A literary analysis, and if you can look at your screen, and I hope I can get everything on here because this thing here tends to, there we go. Now it won't go the other way. So hopefully we can get this worked out. So let's go ahead and take a look at this, and maybe we can get through it today, and maybe not. Let me see here. Is it not moving? There we go. Okay, literary essay is an insightful, critical interpretation of a literary work. So that's what you're going to be doing, is you're going to give insights. It is not a summary of plot, character, or other elements of fiction in a given literary work. Now, I'm telling you, you may do some of the summary plot. You may, do a summary of a character as part of it, but the whole thing shouldn't be that way, okay? And then you provide your own formal interpretation or opinion of the topic. You use the literary work to prove or substantiate your understanding of the topic, okay? So that's where the quotes come in, and I'll show you how to do the quotes. In fact, you should have learned how to do a quote in English 101. So there should be no questions whatsoever about how to do quotes. Now, I'll go over them in another video, but if you don't get it right, don't blame me. You go to your English 101 teacher and say, why didn't you teach me this? Or apologize for not listening, okay? All right, so you're trying to prove the... All right, so you do not try to prove the plot. So let's go back to these other points here, okay? This means that you provide your own formal interpretation or opinion of the topic. You use a literary work to prove or substantiate your understanding of the topic. Okay, you do not try to prove the plot. You know how the series of events unfolds because we read the book, so you don't need to prove that. You do not need to prove that the characters, settings, or themes existed in the literary work, okay? They're already there, okay? You just got to find them, all right? You do provide an interpretation of the plot, setting, character, conflict, and themes as they relate to the topic you are discussing. So if you want to talk about a certain character being the a anti-hero, then you need to give evidence of that. If you want to talk about one of the characters as being the a bad influence, even though they're kind of portrayed as a good influence, then you have to show evidence of that, okay? You do develop elements that will prove your argument. So that's where the quotes come in. That's where you quote verbatim. You put quotation marks around it, and you put a little in-text citation with the author's last name and the paragraph number of where you got the information. All right, so let's keep going on. Literary essays allows you, the writer, to provide your own understanding of the literary work in a properly structured format. Okay. Well, did I miss? Where did we go? Okay, here we go. Literary essays allows you to write to provide your own understanding of the literary. All right, we already did that. There we go. In order to be complete, your essay must include the following. Clearly introduces the topic, the literary work, and the author. So in your introductory paragraph, you better have all that in there, okay? Example, To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee presents prejudice and discrimination of black people, okay? So that's an example of maybe one of the sentences in your introductory paragraph. The introduction allows you to give the reader the clear and specific directions of your essay. The thesis states the main purpose of the essay, is often stated in the last sentence of your introduction. Now I'm telling you, yours better be the last sentence. Answer the question. What will you prove or show through this essay about the literary work under discussion? Okay, so that's how you write a thesis statement. What are you going to prove through this? Okay, and that's basically what you're going to do. All right, so the body, I'm going to try to get through this, is divided into paragraphs, is composed of paragraphs which begin with a topic sentence that clearly introduces the topic in the paragraph and end with linking sentences that introduce the next paragraph. So I'll give you an example of that in another video. Serves to prove your thesis. Note, in order to prove your thesis, you must develop and expand on the topic using examples and citations from the literary work to substantiate your statements. So, once a quote is cited, you must prove an interpretation, not a summary, about how this quote is relevant to the development of the topic and thesis. So you need to make sure that when you use a quote, that you explain how the quote satisfies your assertion, okay? So, is the body is where you develop your ideas about the topic. It's where you prove your own ideas by answering the following questions. What is the topic? How is the topic relevant? How does the topic relate to the literary work? How does the topic affect the development of the literary work as a whole? So, what is my understanding of the topic and the literary work? How does the setting affect the development of the topic? How do the characters assist in the development of the topic? You do not, however, write essay in a question and answer format. It must flow like the literary work itself. Okay, use the question only as a guide. They will help you to interpret instead of summarizing. Okay, the conclusion. The first sentence of the conclusion is restatement of your thesis. Do not introduce any new information in the conclusion. So whatever you have decided to say in the body paragraphs, then that's it. Your conclusion ends, so no new information. You're just restating your main points and your thesis statement, and you go on. Restate your most important points as a means of bringing your argument to a close. The conclusion is your last chance to prove your point to the reader. Okay, so we're going to stop this at this point, and I will get another video for you. Have a great